What's going on, everyone? In this video I'm going to talk about 5 ways that you can make money selling on Amazon in 2023. My name is Hayden. If you don't know who I am, we're on set for 1 million this year. I sell in the USA and the UK hundreds of thousands on different accounts. Let's dive into it. So 5 ways that you can sell. The 5 different ways in 2023. There's a few more, but the 5 ways that I'm going to talk about, the main ways, are online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, private label, bundles and wholesale. Let's dive into it. So, number 1, retail arbitrage. So if you don't know what retail arbitrage is, this is for beginners, this video. If you don't know what retail arbitrage is, it's where you're driving around different stores or getting the bus, if you're a real hardcore, driving around different stores, retail stores, B&Q, Homebase, etc. And what you're doing is looking for deals using software, scanning apps, or going back to your car or on the laptop, looking for deals that you can find with this software that are actually marked up at a lot higher price on Amazon. Okay, now this could be from the clearance section or it could be from the general sales section. Okay, now a lot of people that I know make good money from this, but that's because the fact that you're driving around these stores, especially in the clearance sections, you're going to be able to find yourself deals that people simply cannot get anywhere else in the country. Therefore, you're going to make a lot of money from it. I've made some good money from it in the past. Also, with the sales sections, what you can actually do before you go out is actually plan your trips before you go, figure out how much stock a certain store has got, and then you can go and clear up because you can go and get them products. So it's higher barrier to entry than something like online arbitrage, which we're going to get to in a minute, because you actually have to physically drive around these stores, and a lot of stores are limited stock. Now, some downfalls to it, I want to be transparent with the positives and the negatives. The negatives to this are the fact that you do have to consume a lot of your time driving around, and if you've got a job, it might not be the best model for you unless you're going to do it at weekends and evenings, etc., because of what I just said, the fact that you've got to use up a lot of your time, so your time is limited, and that is, your time is money. Okay, another thing is that, you know, just because it's lower barrier to entry doesn't mean that you're not going to get competition. If that store, Sainsbury's for example, has got 500-600 stores around the UK and it's got the same sale, that means that other sellers, which you can guarantee are going to happen all over the country, are going to buy the same item as you. So there might be some price tanking. However, I believe it's a much better model in some ways than online arbitrage, because it's a sale item that you can only buy in store, perhaps if you check it, or a clearance item, you're very limited in stock, which means that once it's gone, the price should recover. Okay, so that's retail arbitrage. Now let's move on to online arbitrage. So online arbitrage is similar to retail arbitrage, but the difference is you're buying it from online stores that you can find anywhere on the internet, okay? Usually, obviously, in your country. Although, obviously, you could import them from different countries as well if you wanted to get a little bit more funky with what your sourcing tactics, okay? So what you do, the idea is to use, once again, sourcing softwares, or you're going to use, virtual assistants to help you source manually, train them up, etc. And what they do is they go, you know, Wilko, Sainsbury's, Ocado, WH Smith, whatever you want to do, or even Amazon, buy from Amazon, sell on Amazon, you can actually do that. When there's a price discrepancy in a listing, he's buying a listing that's selling on Amazon vis the price that you're able to buy it for, whether that's in sale or clearance again, or just a general price from a more of an unknown store, you can sell it on Amazon at a higher price, and you can actually keep the profit in between after fees, etc. Now, obviously, some downfalls to that is that the fact that it is quite easy barrier to entry. You can get these items, anyone can buy them essentially, send them to a prep center. You can get the prep center, even if you don't want to prep it yourself, to send these products into Amazon. The reason it's quite competitive is because it's easy barrier to entry. You can start it with a couple of £100. So the caveat is that on these listings, if you don't do anything unique, you could potentially go on a listing, and then, especially if you're using things like deal sheets, for example, to get these products from in the first place, which is companies that sell deal sheets that their virtual assistants have bought, which I don't recommend, they can get price tanked, because you've got 30, 40, 50 sellers on that listing that are all trying to get the buy box, lowering their price with their repricers, penny by penny it's dropping and dropping, all of a sudden you're not making any profit or very low profit on that item. So there's a few things you've got to do in that case. You've got to wait for it to recover, or you're going to have to actually follow them down and actually sell for a lower price. Now this isn't going to happen on everything, but most listings are not going to be able to sell for the price that you actually buy them for. And in the UK in recent years, I know it has become a lot more competitive, but a lot of people still seem to make it work. It's not actually a model that I recommend in the UK. I do actually do it, but I do it in the USA. It's not a recommended model that I would say in the UK. However, some people still make it work. There's a lot of benefits you can get from it with cashback. You can get Amex points, you can get Capital and Tap points, which all add up, and you can transfer them to cash or you can use bonuses. And even if you do small margins, there is still the ability to scale that. I've got friends that have scaled it to millions of pounds just working on a small margin. But hey, who's to say it's a bad model? Because that's what Tesco does. The last I heard, Tesco in the UK actually works on a 3% net margin. Okay, now I know people doing online arbitrage that work on a 8%, 10%, 12%, 15% margin. So there's a business there for those that are brave that want to scale it up. But beware, there is a lot of price tanking that can happen on traditional vanilla online arbitrage. Next one, private label. So private label is where you're getting a bit more hands-on, you're getting a bit more complex, and the investment is more complex as well. The investment is more risky. So what you're doing with private label is actually importing products from overseas, usually from China or one of these Southeast countries, and what you're actually doing is creating this product, looking for the right supplier, creating the idea of the product, using Helium 10 or a similar software to find these keywords that you think are unsaturated, and then you're having to take the risk of buying these products from China or one of these overseas countries, buying probably a few £1,000s worth of stock with your branded logo on it or your own private label products. You're importing it, getting it sent to Amazon fulfillment centers, and then you're keeping the profit in between from that item. Now, this has probably got the biggest potential in terms of business exit that you could exit from if you build a real brand, have a big list of private label products, and also the profit can be very, very good. But obviously the caveats to that are the fact that it is competitive, and it's risky. And the reason it's so risky is because there's minimum order quantities from these suppliers. So it's not like you can just order 50 and then just test it like you can with other methods. Unfortunately, you have to order a certain amount. You have to order thousands of pounds worth of products in most cases, which means that if that product doesn't work, and in the early days it's likely it might not if you don't have the right training, if you don't have the right methods, okay, if it doesn't work, then you've lost all that money. You've got all them products sitting on Amazon that might not sell. Another thing with private label is that people don't talk about much is that the PPC spend, the advertising to rank your product, advertising PPC, for example, when you click onto Amazon on a certain keyword, you'll notice there's sponsored products. When you launch a private label product, you're going to have to be one of the sponsors, and you're going to have to pay per click, pay PPC, pay for every single click that gets, so that you organically get pushed up these keyword ranks. Now, that could be very, very expensive, once again hitting into your budget, so a lot of people don't talk about. So you need the experience. So it's not something that I would recommend for beginners personally, unless you're working with someone that's got a lot of experience that can handhold you through that process, okay? So that's private label, but it's got a lot of potential, but you need a lot of experience and money to start it. Let's talk about wholesale. Let's talk about wholesale. So wholesale is where what you're doing is you open up brand accounts, so direct with brands. So I know someone in the communities that I'm in that does this. He's got an 8-figure business. I know there's a couple of people that have got 8-figure businesses doing this, where they open accounts with brands directly, so they have the exclusive rights to sell their products. Let's say Dulux Paint as an example. If you could open a brand account with them, if they didn't sell on Amazon and they weren't interested in selling on Amazon, you could attempt to get in contact with that brand, that company, and actually ask them if you could have the exclusive rights to sell that brand on Amazon. Then you would buy that in wholesale from that company, and you'll be the only one that's allowed to sell the products. So it's got huge potential, but obviously there's a lot of people trying to do that, and you need to be reputable and able to be able to do that, and you need to be VAT registered, etc., likely in most cases. So yeah, huge potential. Or another side of wholesale is where you're buying from, opening up accounts for wholesalers selling products that other people are selling as well. Now, caveats to that is that it can be very competitive. Once again, like online arbitrage, I've heard of people working off very small margins. Now, this is just from what I know. I don't actually do wholesale. I don't open brand accounts. I do open wholesale accounts, but I use them for my brand, which I'm going to talk about next. But with this model, it can be competitive because you can be working on very, very laser thin margins. I've heard of people working on 6, 7, 8% margins, 10, 12% margins, etc. So you need to know what you're doing. And generally, it's a volume game as well. Once again, it's competitive. And once again, all of this is different in different marketplaces, by the way. You've got Germany, USA, UK, different marketplaces, different ball game. I'm talking about specifically for the UK in most of these cases, guys. So that's wholesale, okay? That's wholesale. Caveats to that, very competitive can be, unless you can open brand exclusive accounts. Is wholesale something I recommend? Not personally, because I don't know anything about it. I know people that make it work. I've got a friend, Johnny Smith, that makes it work in the Hive. Let me know if you want me to put you in contact with him. He's a cool guy. He makes it work on a good scale, makes very good money from it. For me personally, it's not something I've ever been interested in because it's a low margin, high volume game. But as I say, some people seem to make it work. Let's move on to the final one. The final one is bundles. Okay, so this is actually one of the main models that I do. This is sort of 50%, 40% of my business. So there's many different ways you can do bundles. You can do a bundle similar to online arbitrage. You can do a bundle where you can just do 2 or 3 packs of items, and they tend to be less competitive, okay? And you can create them listings yourself. You could create, say, if you saw a Colgate toothpaste selling as a single pack, you could go ahead and create your own 2-pack of that, or you could jump on someone else's, and it could be less competitive for a certain period of time perhaps. Or you can go a little bit of a step ahead. You could do a 3-pack of Colgate, for example, just using Colgate as an example. You could do a little bit of research on Helium 10 as a software tool, for example, find out some least competitive keywords, and you could actually go ahead and put a toothbrush with that item, for example, with the free Colgate toothpastes. You could put a toothbrush with it, for example, put it under your brand, and all of a sudden you've got a unique item in there, and you can create your own listing that no one else can jump on because you've got that exclusive to your brand. You can do that, okay? Now, once again, that's going to entail a little bit of research on the keywords. You're going to have to do a little bit of PPC on that as well. Hey guys, just a really quick interruption of the video just to say that BuyBot Pro is sponsoring this video, and down below there's a 14-day free trial to this amazing software which I've been using for years now. So BuyBot Pro is a deal analyzer for arbitrage sellers and private label type sellers, where it just gives you all the profit, the accurate profit analysis, whether it's hazmat, whether you can sell it, whether you can't. There's like a keeper-like graph in it as well, so you can look back at all the history and the data and analyze your deals correctly. Anyway, free trial links down below. Let's get back to the video. Oh, but probably not too much depending on the keyword. And you can actually get brand-driven sales from that bundle, okay, from that bundle, from that brand, without the competition. And then you can do other things as well. You can do a lot more bundled products as well. You could bundle a load of gifting products together, for example, put it under your brand. So a few caveats to this though is that it's a slow burner. A lot of people think this is sort of like, and I certainly did when I first started. I certainly thought it was the best model, but then I slowly realized it's not the best model, and the reason for that is that it's a slow burner. With something like online arbitrage, or if you've got brand deals, etc., you can launch loads of products at the same time. You can get a VA to source you 10 deals a day. With bundles, you've got to create every single one yourself. You've got to rank every single one yourself. You've got to list every single one yourself. You've got to do the editing and the pictures, every single one yourself. Back-end keywords, etc. Then you've got to source them products. You've got to get them prepared at the prep center. Them products, and then you've got to get them sent to Amazon, and the logistics behind that can be quite confusing with putting loads of bundles together. I've got an admin VA that works on it full time pretty much. So coupled with that and the fact that it's just a slow burner, I could launch a product and then I might not be able to launch another one for 2 or 3 weeks, and then that in comparison to launching loads and loads and loads of listings at the same time, even if you get price tanked on them eventually, would I be better off if I stuck to doing arbitrage in the UK rather than bundles that are a slower burner but less competition? Don't know. I think I probably could have made more money if I stuck to arbitrage, to be honest. So none of these models, guys, are better than others, in my opinion. It depends on your skill set. It depends on what skills you've got. It depends if you're creative. It depends if you're more data driven, etc. It depends on you. So go do some research. Go think about what model works specifically for you. Make sure you like and subscribe. I appreciate you watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.